There are plenty of ways to make money out of property, but there are also plenty of mistakes you can make along the way on your journey towards creating wealth through property investing. Wayne Jessup, the Property Bloke, chats with Sarah Megginson, editor of Your Investment Property, about the biggest mistakes investors make and how to avoid them.
Probably my biggest thing I see on a regular basis is getting their loan structures wrong, like not setting up their loans correctly. People don't realise the tax advantages with some of the loan structures and how they can be, if they're set up incorrectly, they can be really hard to break and also restructure. And probably my next biggest one that it probably frustrates me the most is they get no advice prior to buying an investment property. Ownership structure is very important, whether you're a first-time investor or whether you own 10 properties. It comes down to who owns the property, whether it's you personally, whether it's you and your wife, percentage of ownership, whether it should be a company, a property trust, all those types of structures. Where people go wrong is they just don't get that advice first before entering into the property. That's probably the frustrating part, because once you're in there, you can't really change it. It's really difficult to change ownership. You have to sell the property and it becomes with many more complications. Yeah, that's the two biggest ones I see that are wrong. And the third biggest mistake is copying somebody else. Copying somebody else with a different financial circumstance can really put you in a bad financial situation. So just because your brother bought an investment property, I'm not saying investment properties don't suit you, but just have a look at their financial situation compared to yours, because you could need a different style of property or a different sort of plan of attack, you could say. The loan structure is not the lender or the bank, it's just the style, the type of loan. So what I mean by that is whether you go interest only, whether you go principal interest style loan. Some people with cash think it's good to pay that cash off the property and have it in there as redraw, but that affects the tax deductibility of the loan. So having an offset account is obviously the best option in that scenario, so the money is accessible and it doesn't affect the tax deductibility of that investment loan. I see that happen on a regular basis, where people get a redundancy, pay the money off the investment property, but then want to use it for maybe upgrading their home or a car, and the tax deductibility of that investment loan is just totally gone now. They've got a big issue, and in some cases they have to sell the property off to regroup and buy another property. And of course that'll come with capital gains tax issues, and if you don't plan to sell a property, it doesn't always work out the best. And so with the ownership structures, if you're looking at yourself personally, so in some cases you've got the wife or the husband on a lot more income than their spouse. And of course with investment properties, if you're looking for the tax deductibility side of it, they need to be in the higher income earner's name. Whereas if you're looking on a short-term process where you might be buying and selling that property in a short period and have a fair bit of capital gain, you want that to be in the lowest income earner's name. And same with companies and property trust structures. If you're looking at turning your money over and not taking the money in, like putting it into your own personal finances, sometimes rolling the money back and forth within the company, you're only going to pay the maximum, 30% tax. So therefore you can have a lot more money to invest into the next property or development or subdivision, whatever you're deciding to do. Biggest thing I put together for people is a bit of a plan. So where people go wrong is they say, I want to buy a property, say in March or April next year. They should already be planning and already educating, already getting their advice now. People wait till the new year, where I always promote in December, anyone looking to add to their portfolio or buy their first property, any research on their own personal circumstances should be done now, not next year. And with that in mind, that comes together with getting a loan pre-approval organised, all those small things. So when you're actually ready to hit the market and buy a property, once you've done all your research, done all your education, you're 100% ready to go and you don't miss out on that ideal opportunity. For a new investor, I'd say education. We're really big on education, so make sure you're 100% educated on what style of property investment you should be buying. So, because there's so many different types, it's like a big funnel of opportunities in the property market, so they really need to be looking for what's specific that they need for their plan. It comes down to your age, it comes down to what you need, what your income is, all that's a big part of it. So having some education and having a plan of attack is definitely how they've got to be set up in 2020. Lending criteria is a lot harder, so therefore we're actually doing a lot more work on loan structures and affordability and lending sort of comparisons prior to them even starting to look for property at the moment. Yeah, they should be researching 6 months out. They should be doing their education and researching 6 months out from when they want to buy. Instead of waking up one day and saying, I want to buy an investment property today, they should be doing all their research, all their education, and figuring out what suits their criteria way before they buy the property. 3 to 6 months is the best option there.